Greetings, my excellent friend.
Welcome to Most Excellent Adventure to
Heavy Metal
History.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the Heavy Metal History Podcast, my guests for this episode are Cory and Jacob, guitar players of the band Signs of the Swarm. Guys, thank you for doing the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, so the thing I want to kind of start with here to get the conversation rolling, it's a bit of a cliche question, but it will work its way out into everything else that we're going to talk about here. But, you know, I always want to start with people's roots into heavy metal, you know, those first bands, first records you remember hearing that kind of changed it all for you, where you were like, yes, this is what I want to listen to, this is what I want to play, and it just sucked you in from there.
Well, for me, probably the very first album that got me into real heavy music was Slipknot's self debut album, and that like changed everything for me. And then after that, hearing stuff like Nail Dead Risen, like Impending Doom, and This Is Exile, and that kind of stuff, kind of changed, fucked my world up real hard. Those are some for me, at least when I was younger.
Yeah, for me, I had a friend, and he listened to a lot of Hatebreed, and part of I really wanted to dig them, so I sat there and I kept listening to the same song over and over and over again. It was one of the songs, "To the Threshold."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically that was like the first album I ever bought was that Supremacy album. It sucked me in. There was something really cool about it, and it basically all expanded off of that.
Angry.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
My foray, like my first thing that got me into metal was Hatebreed's Perseverance record. So that's what sucked me in, man.
So good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those early days of like hardcore and metal, I think you know, especially in like the early 2000s, like because I'm assuming we're all pretty much in the same age range there. I don't know. It's evolved a lot since then, but there's some kind of like weird nostalgia that I have for it that I'm always going back to. I find.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, same here, man. Like old Kill Switch and shit like that. Like it's always all the little shit's so nostalgic.
Yeah.
Feels genuine.
Yeah, even though I think a lot of the productions changed with a lot of that stuff moving forward, which I think, you know, some of those records, the way they sounded back then, even though they were a little bit less, like, I don't know, pristine, I guess is the word. Man, I do like the evolution in sound with a lot of those bands, the way everything's sounding nowadays. Especially, you know, Killswitch just put out a new record, and it sounds great.
Yeah, I saw that video with him and with Evan Howard.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So with you guys in the, like, finding music, you know, were you around the era where the internet was just kind of getting big and, you know, downloading was a thing, or were you guys still going to record stores and buying CDs?
For me, it was like right when YouTube started getting really popular, so it was easy to find new music, and like a lot of bands were like really underground then. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I just go on like binges and look up like, I mean, I was like, I'm 22, so I was pretty young whenever YouTube was first like taken off and shit, and I just look up like most brutal bands, most brutal death metal. Like,
top 10 videos.
Top 10 videos. Like that's actually how I found a lot of bands. I found like I mean, that's how I found like Impending Doom, like I mentioned, and like bands like eventually found about like Veil of Maya, like Common Man's Collapse, and stuff like that. That was the stuff I got into when I was. I mean, I still love those bands, but like that's like what got me into like heavier deathcore, death metal stuff, and when I actually started to understand the heavier genres more.
Yeah, I think Chelsea Grin was like the first of like the deathcore things that I really got into, like their first self-titled album.
Mm-hmm.
Fruit Banger.
Yeah, and all that. And I remember going to Google and like I did all the LimeWire and stuff like when I was younger and everything, but I went to Google and just typed in bands like Chelsea Grin and came up with 200 of them, and I would just I went from like A all the way through the list, just searching up one by one to find out who I liked.
Oh, yeah.
It's like trying to fill an addiction.
Mutual ones.
I love that though. That's kind of how like a lot of people would find music, and I think that's one thing. I don't know if you guys use Spotify, but they have a really good way of doing that now, where you listen to a band and then it says here are other bands that sound like this band, and you can just go through and click through all of them.
Similar artists, yeah, it is really cool.
I like they have like
it's like a cleaner version.
Yeah,
it's all organized.
They have like the radio section.
Yeah.
Band will play like the band every once in a while, and then similar artists.
Yeah, it is really cool. They did that.
Yeah, I know these days Spotify gets a lot of flack for the whole not paying the artist a lot of money thing, which I don't, I can't pretend to know the ins and outs of that, but I think from my perspective and what I know is like the record company has to own the music, right? So it's the record company selling off the rights, not the artist. So who really gets the money and all that? I guess the record company does.
It's such a
you can have stuff on Spotify without being with a label. There's I forget what it's called. It's one website you pay a subscription and they upload your music.
We DistroKid.
Yeah.
We did that for the census order.
Yeah, then
that's how we still get.
Yeah. Okay.
Personally. Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah. DistroKid works well, but I guess in a way it is still like
going through another.
Yeah, going through like basically a label.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're not making much either.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys are still relatively new. You've been around for about 3 or 4 years now. This is your third record that you're about to put out here in about a month, and I'm sure you guys have had challenges along the way, and even going into this record, you guys have had a little bit of lineup stuff going on, but you still seem to have persevered through all that. And what is it that kind of pushes you guys to just keep making music despite all that?
We love what we do, man. I know going into it that it wasn't going to be like something I'd ever be rich from or anything like that, but ever since I was probably like 5 or 6, I knew I wanted to play in a band and play music, and it's just it's definitely harder than I thought it would be, touring and all that, and it does get really rough, and it is nice to be home. I appreciate being home a lot more now, especially since we've been on tour for over a month at certain points.
Yeah, over a third of the year.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, it was rough, but like it's also awesome, like being able to play with bands that I've listened to for years and be able to talk with them and become like friends and see them every night and make new friends, and it's just have to be into it for a genuine reason. Like, you love playing music and has to be your thing. It can't be like it can be a side thing. Like, you can like just play like home shows and stuff like that, and that's all fine. Mm-hmm. But with touring, it's completely different. Like, it has to be, or at least for like a consistent touring band, if you're not enjoying it, then there's no reason to do it, because it's a big part of your life at that point.
Yeah, I toured with the band for like 5 years, and there were times where I was just like never home, and I'd be so exhausted, but still thinking like, man, why am I complaining about this? Because I'm literally traveling everywhere and getting to meet all these people, but it does wear on you sometimes, where you're just like, fuck this, I want to go home.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. It's not always fun. Like, 90% of the time you're not. Well, 95% of the time you're not playing music. You know what I mean? Like, you're in the van, you're waiting around, you're just sitting.
All that calculated van time. Or, oh god.
Time I could be playing video games or.
Thank God for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I was gonna say I just bought a Nintendo Switch, and I wish I had something like that when I was touring, because it would have saved so much time.
Yeah, I just bought one for our last tour, and it was really good investment.
Yes. I tell people all the time, I'm like, get a Nintendo Switch. Fuck a PlayStation, fuck Xbox. Just get it.
That's true, man.
Yeah, there's, I think this tour that you guys are about to do is one of the better tours of the year, that's for sure. It's a pretty big tour, and it's long. I think it's like a month and a half for you guys almost, right?
The bloodletting itself is exactly 1 month, but we have a week of routing shows before and after.
Okay.
So it's gonna be about 40 days, 44 days, something like that.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm
Really
really
long, boy.
excited.
I'm extremely excited. Distant Tomb, like we toured with them like last year, and it was fucking awesome because I love them. I love their music, and the album they just put out is flawless.
Yeah.
In my opinion. They're one of my favorite metal bands now, especially after that album. So I look forward to hearing the Slooms.
Yeah, and you guys are label mates too, which has got to be pretty fun.
Yeah, it's cool. And Visceral Discord obviously are fucking sick, and then Organectomy, Mental Cruelty, and Continuum. Look forward to hearing all them every night. They're all sick too. Excited to meet them and make new friends again.
Yeah. There's a earlier this year I was like, man, there's I feel like after summer, like tours usually slow down and they're not as good, and then like over the past month there's been shit that's getting announced and I'm like, well damn, I was wrong. Like these tours keep getting better and better, and I don't expect, you guys are touring at a good time too, like where you're getting just out of summer going into fall and you don't have to worry about the winter tour bullshit.
Yeah, that sucks.
The weather's gonna be so
touring in the
beautiful.
winter time sucks, dude.
Oh man,
It's
like,
so. Oh my God.
I could never decide which was worse, like doing
Winter.
the brutal summer heat or those cold winters, but I think winter was always worse because of the road conditions, and that was
Yeah,
never fun.
I don't know if
This
you
depends if your van has AC too. The summer could be fucking. Our first few tours we didn't have AC in our van, and it was. The first one we were like worried for our lives.
there were heat waves coming through, and like every day was over 100 degrees.
Yeah, we had a cooler with ice, and I put like fans like blowing out of it. It didn't really work, but like it was disgusting.
So, what sparked your guys' interest into playing guitar? I know you said you were like 5 and remember wanting to play and do music since then. But I mean, was it just kind of listening to music and wanting to play, or did a family member do it, or what was it for you guys?
What was it for you, Cory?
When I was young, when I was really young, at some point my parents had bought me like a little like Kmart guitar or whatever. And I remember it sat around for a long time, and I can't remember an exact point when, but I know there was in 9th grade I broke my leg, and so I used to skateboard all the time and all that stuff. Broke my leg, and so the first thing I did was pick up guitar, and that's where I really sat down and started to like get like a deep interest into it and everything. That's when I started covering like Killswitch Engage and Bullet for My Valentine and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
For me, it was Guitar Hero.
Oh wow, that was a good part of it too.
Guitar Hero and Slash. That's pretty much when I was really on the guitar. I loved music like when I was really young. And then whenever Guitar Hero like came out and stuff, I was like, dude, this is sick. I want to actually play these songs.
That's crazy. That's the second time within a week that I've had somebody tell me that, and I was just, I'm kind of surprised now, because I remember, like, I had already started playing guitar before Guitar Hero came out, but when it dropped, it kind of like, I don't know, it like struck a chord with me where like it made me understand music a lot more too, like playing it that way. So it made me, weirdly enough, a better player, but I stopped playing Guitar Hero after, I got older. But that's really interesting, because I do feel like there is a lot to that game really did change a lot of people into wanting to be musicians from playing that game. And it's kind of revolutionary in that fact.
I went to Guitar Hero.
Yeah, it kind of gives you like a better understanding of the like rhythm that's actually going on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and see, people want to demonize video games now. Yeah, it's so were you guys mostly self-taught, or did you like take a little bit of lessons, or like what do you guys do to kind of keep fresh with guitar stuff nowadays?
I started with lessons from the music minister at our church, and then there's guitarist for this band. They were called By the Breather. The original guitarist. I didn't live too far from him, so I started getting lessons from him. and he definitely opened my mind a lot with music. He showed me like Between the Buried and Me and stuff like that,
Nice.
and taught me a lot, like especially for metal playing, because I was into metal, but he expanded my horizons a lot and taught me stuff that it was definitely like the next level for me in learning technicality wise. And then I probably took lessons for like a total of 3 years of how long I've been playing. So everything after that, I learned how to get better. So I just did it myself, really.
Yeah. I took lessons for maybe a year or two, and unfortunately my guitar teacher had some like hiking accident.
Damn.
So he could, yeah. So like he like broke his hip or something like that, and so from that point on, I was basically self-taught on everything.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing because it really gives you that chance to like define your own playing style and sound with the guitar. And I think, once you're really mature as a musician and that comes out more and more and more through your playing, it'll get to the point where it's like somebody can hear one of your guys' guitar riffs and be like, "Oh shit, that's Cory. Oh shit, that's Jacob," or whatever it may be. And I think being self-taught is a lot more beneficial in some ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that there's anything wrong with lessons either, because it can be either way.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to have a point where you branch off and do it yourself if you want to.
It's like you're naturally expressing yourself.
Yeah, because we each have a very different style to our writing that like we hear in every song. Like it's not like no one else really knows which songs are written by who on the albums, but like we know like who wrote each song because like we write so differently, but it all comes together really well.
Yeah, I think that. So, how long have you guys been playing together? Like, pretty much since the band started?
I saw them. I think it was like their second local show they've played. I think it was like probably you guys' like second or third local show.
Where was it?
Probably Butler Arts Center.
Yeah, it was probably like second or third.
Yeah, and then like a week later, I think I joined them or something like. There's nothing released. There's that one like demo recording of what was it? Unbalanced on like a local EP.
Yeah.
And then I joined them, and that was before anything else was released. So we've
pretty much the entirety of the career, like the whole thing. Yeah.
Nice. So what's your guys' kind of writing style like as far as like when you start coming up with riffs or song patterns and stuff like that?
What do you mean particularly? Like what artists influence our writing the most, or like what how we go about writing?
Yeah. So like how you guys personally kind of go about writing with each other, like because I assume like you guys kind of come up with most of the riffs, and then everybody else, like how does it work with the band?
So Cory and I I don't think we've ever really sat down and collabed on a song together. I think we've just been like...
It's really interesting how we do it.
I've been like, hey, I have a full song written.
Yeah, usually we'll come to each other and it'll be like, it'll be a full finished song basically.
Yeah.
And then we'll come out to my place and like we'll do like a demo track of it and get it all fully recorded and everything so that you can hear the full idea of like what it's supposed to be.
And then we'll fuck with it.
Yeah.
That's why each of our songs sound so different, is because like we pretty much write the full thing, and then like someone might have like some input and we'll mess with it. But for the most part, each one of our songs is written by one person. Like we try to make it even. Like I think Disfigurement and this next album coming out, we each wrote like 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah, because Disfigurement was mostly me and you. Bobby did the last song.
Bobby wrote Misery from Demoralization.
Was that the only one he wrote on that one?
I think so.
Yeah, and then for this album it's like 3-3-3, and then Dave did a song.
Yeah, it's very even.
Yeah,
That's
pretty cool. I have not heard a band tell me that that's how they write stuff. Yet, which is interesting.
Yeah,
don't know if it's the right way to do it, but
it's
worked
worked so far.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you guys are, you know, that inspired where you're having that much material that one person can just write a whole song, I mean, that's fucking awesome to have it go that way.
Says I'm too picky about what my son says.
Yeah, I think we're all just a little bit hard-headed.
Yeah, but we're all right with like having different like songs sounding different and stuff.
Yeah.
So I would like to try and like collab with all the dudes and come together and write a song together and see how it.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever sat like in the practice room all together.
Yeah, no, we've
and,
never
like written
We've
something.
been like, hey, I have this song.
Yeah.
Here, the whole thing.
So I was kind of reading, especially with this new record, you guys pretty much started right after, you know, the last album dropped. So, you know, I mean, you guys have put out stuff pretty consistently over the 3 years. I mean, I feel like you guys are just always in writing mode in general, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty
always.
much. Yeah.
I mean, it's whenever something comes to mind. Like we're not trying to rush anything. We're not like, all right, we got to get this out by.
Yeah.
Get this out by this time. But it's like whenever I always come up with an idea, you know, Cory records, so like it's easy to.
I've already got files on my computer that are labeled SOTS album 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like.
So album 4 is being written.
Like.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, who knows if it'll be on that, but like the ideas are already there.
It was
like,
the same with Disfigurement too. Like we were writing before Sense Disorder was
even out.
Yeah. We were already tired of playing Sense Disorder.
Yeah, I guess at that point, you know, I always hear the slogan or saying or whatever, you know, you spend your whole lives writing your first album, so when it's out, you know, it feels like you've been playing it your whole life to some extent.
Oh yeah. True.
Yeah.
We played that intro for like 4 years alone.
Yeah.
Jeez. So what are some things that you guys tried to kind of maybe experiment around with or do different with this new album? Because it does sound a lot different to the previous record to me.
I think at least I think we all have the mindset that we want to be have more of a mature sound, which is one thing, and we want to just have an overall like be I don't know. We're writing more for ourselves, I guess. It's the way to put it.
I feel like this was written. There was a lot of parts that were written that were just like heavy with the intention of being heavy, or like slow it down and just chug a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's not. It's still there in the new stuff, but it's not as much there.
Not forcing anything is one thing. Like
just a lot more genuine of like okay, this might sound good next.
And a lot of it's
like a flow.
A lot of it's like pushing our sound a good bit too, like stuff that some people would probably be like, that doesn't sound like, you know, them or whatever, but we're still trying to find our own sound.
Yeah.
A lot of the sound, it's just more we were writing what we want to write, and we're not really limiting ourselves, you know.
Changes up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of touch on that. You mentioned, you know, there's not a lot more kind of chuggy stuff on here. It's got a lot more of a groove to it. Like there's a lot of not quite slam parts, but I mean that's kind of like the basic thing I could compare it to with some of the riffs on there.
Just fucking riffs, man.
I was just looking at the timestamps. Like Disfigurement, pretty much every song is over 5 minutes long, and like with this album, I think the longest might be like maybe 4 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of them are like 3 minutes. There's one that's pushing 3 minutes. It's like 2 minutes 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just a lot like faster paced, and yeah.
It's a lot more fun to play. Well, that's one thing I didn't mind too. Is I wanted to have songs that were riffy and just fun to play live, and that I could take. So there's like one of the songs in particular, I pushed myself really far with what I could play at the time when I wrote it, and it probably took me like 6-7 months to even get it down.
Wow.
Whenever I could play it. Obviously, that's not practicing consistently or anything. but yeah, like I wanted to push myself, but I also wasn't trying to be like. I mean, we're not like, it's not like we're tech death or anything like that. I didn't want to just be like technical to, you know.
We write like it's our hobby, but we tour like it's our career.
Yeah. Well, like like I said, it's easy for us to write songs, especially with Cory recording and stuff, and just go over to his house overnight and record something and show everyone. And
yeah, it helps to have that. It helps to have like the little bit of production value to get an idea across.
Yeah, especially when it sounds good and everything.
Yeah, there's one track on the record. I'm looking at the track list now. It's near the end. It's that I think it's Inevitable Affliction, the instrumental. Mm-hmm. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, that's
Undying Fidelity.
Yeah, okay, that one. Man, that thing has a great, really reminiscent sound of the band Bloodbath.
Yeah.
Man, as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, that's got some serious groovy like riff in the opening section of that song.
Yeah, man, it's all Cory right there.
That whole upbeat.
Yeah. Once Cory showed us that, I was like, we have to fucking do it. That has to be on the album. So we were gonna do it as with lyrics with vocals at one point, but I thought it was we all decided obviously to make it instrumental, and I think it kind of
just worked.
Yeah, it's just easy. It's groovy and catchy and melodic while being heavy. So
yeah, I think having like a little spatial, like letting the record kind of breathe without vocals on it is a nice segue to kind of finish off the record too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because you're being pummeled from the get-go with it, and then it's just like here's the instrumental, which still kind of pummels, definitely pummels, but then you got no vocals in there, which is a good thing, because sometimes I think I don't know if this is the case for you guys, but you hear a lot of vocalists or bands that like try to just fill every second of the song with vocals and screams, and I think sometimes letting the riffs kind of breathe or the drums kind of breathe is a good way to go.
I agree 100%. That's why Gojira is like one of my favorite bands.
Oh yeah.
And I love bands that have like the guitarists that also do vocals, like because they can't like oversaturate it with vocals and get to enjoy the instruments more and the riffs and shit.
So one thing that I guess just kind of let you know about me, or not me personally, but like as far as me and music, I'm not like super into deathcore bands very much, but
neither am I.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like I feel like at sometimes the genre has kind of like peaked out. There's not really anything any bands can do to make it sound better, but then I'm always like still listening to bands, and I'm proved wrong every so often, and I'm like, okay, it's not always going to be the same, and there are bands that started out as purely deathcore that are working their way out of that because they've kind of maybe figured out the same thing, but I feel like you guys are one of those bands that are definitely over these 3 records like started to kind of maybe get away from it a little bit and stretch your wings to just not a purely deathcore aspect of the band.
Yeah, 100%. It's not that we, if people label this new album as deathcore or whatever, it's not that it bothers us or anything, but we aren't intentionally trying to just write deathcore music. We listen to, I don't really listen to much deathcore at all, to be honest.
All of us have such like a wide variety of what we listen to.
I just want to be a good fucking band.
Yeah, and I think that's the more important thing. I don't know. I get weird with like people always shoving genre labels on bands that I don't think really fit or that have changed over time. Because who wants to start out as one thing and then they actually put a lot of thought and effort in growing as musicians and as bands, and then for the rest of their career they're like, oh, you're this fucking band. And it's like, well, no, they're not. They've actually put in that effort to try and like mix things up and grow. And I think deathcore is the worst genre about that, because once they've kind of gotten that label, nobody wants to take them seriously. And I feel like that's pretty unfair to a lot of bands that maybe started that or have elements of that in there.
Yeah, it is hard to, I guess, kind of prove yourself outside of the deathcore fan base and genre when you started as a deathcore band.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're, like I said, we write what we want to write now. I mean, and the people seem to like it, and it's cool. And
So, yeah, label it however you want.
call it whatever you want.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Some form of metal.
Yeah, we're like metal music. It's just, call it what you want. If we could get away with just being called a metal band, then I'll take it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with most things, man. I'm just like, I don't care what subgenre you want to fucking label it. At the end of the day, it's just heavy metal. Like, it shouldn't be anything else.
For sure.
So, I guess between this album and the last album, you guys had a little bit of lineup switcheroos going on. How did you take that into account with writing some of the new stuff, especially having like a new vocalist on board?
We did a lot of stuff that we probably wouldn't have gotten away with before. Like, it's
we had a lot more. We were able to be a lot more. What's the fucking
genuine to ourselves.
Yeah, we were able to write more what we really wanted to. We were more free.
Yeah. It was a big chance to like write what we felt like we really wanted to write.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to appease to people, just trying to like please ourselves.
Yeah, we got that with that's one thing Dave wanted when he joined too, because he's more open to more dynamics in our writing, and it definitely was a relief and made it really fun.
The whole process was really comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. No matter how hectic or how many hours in a day went into it, like there weren't any like breaking points really.
It was all chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because I feel like lineup changes can always be like detrimental in some ways, or, you know, stupid fans or whatever you want to call them online that like get so bent out of shape when somebody leaves a band, and then, you know, they leave some angry internet comment. It's like, well, you haven't even listened. Like, give them a fucking chance.
Right.
Yeah, we knew we knew we were gonna get those comments and stuff, and we knew it'd be fine once we released music. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about anything.
We really lucked out with being able to like, since we did Ingested and Devastation without announcing that CJ left. Like a lot of people didn't even realize that Dave was a new vocalist.
Yeah.
And so that helped the transition a lot.
Yeah.
Was that like by the time that we posted it on Facebook and like social media, we already had tons of people to back us up that were like, we saw him live.
Yeah, he kills it. We've seen it. It's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. So that brought a lot of confidence to like the aftermath of all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and I think, man, a lot of his vocal style, there are shades of Travis Ryan from Cattle Decapitation in there, and I fucking love it.
That's one of my favorite bands, and also one of his favorite bands too. And he definitely specifically tried to go for that at certain points.
Sick.
So I'm sure he'd love to hear that.
So by the time you guys are, I guess, ready to record everything, you know, are you guys doing any pre-production, or is it just like you're ready to go and you're ready to record like fully?
We had the whole album recorded as demos with Cory before he went to the studio.
Nice.
Everything was finished instrumentally. There's certain things we messed with in the studio and were able to change a bit, and especially with lyrics and stuff. But everything was, I mean, we went in there ready.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the whole album is like fully structured and written out to like the production, like to the T.
Yeah.
Basically, before we even like get into the studio.
We only had 10 days, so we were like, we didn't want to be messing around too much.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing to take into account. You guys are still kind of at that level where time is money in a studio, and you can't really just take all the time you really need or want to.
Especially with like a nice, like we went to Think Loud in your PA, and it was an amazing experience. And it's definitely one of those things where we.
Huge shout out to Carson and Grant.
Yeah, they were fucking awesome.
They really worked
Awesome
with us,
to
and
work
they
did it real chill.
did a killer job on the whole thing.
They were saying how some bands will be there for a month or more, just staying at the
Yeah.
studio recording, and shit's expensive.
So
That's
did you guys kind of do the classic thing where you record each instrument separately in the studio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to do a live recording, but I don't know if it would work for our sound necessarily.
It would be really cool. We just
It would be cool.
we need to practice like
We
a
would need to
lot
practice.
more.
I don't know if I can start doing that.
That is a cool concept. Like I want to try the what's the Fit for an Autopsy. They played the live tree.
Yeah,
The sessions, audio tree
yeah.
sessions. Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
I would love to try that.
That'd be awesome.
Like yeah.
It'd probably humiliate.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't post that, please.
Can we just go record this and then play it?
Yeah.
Could always pull a Dragon Force, I guess.
Yeah.
Get completely hammered, go on live TV, and then try to play a set.
Yeah. Worry about it later, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how much technology has really changed the way bands record music, because I mean that was sort of the norm for such a long time, is playing everything live, all together all at once. But I think really you do get such a much better end product out of like having everything separate, and maybe not necessarily making it sound 100% pristine, because you can kind of tell when that happens too on a record, but enough to where like it makes a good sounding record.
Yeah, there's a line between overproduction and not enough for certain genres, at least. Like I listen to a lot of genres of music that there's like no production, and then there's no metronome, and they're all playing like live recorded, and then but for like our sound, I feel like we definitely need like a bit of production.
We write with that like kind of just slightly more polished sound in mind, basically.
Yeah.
But don't want it to be overproduced either, though. Like not fake sounding.
Still has to have that like raw feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had noticed with the drums, man. The drums sound like very like real compared to a lot of stuff I've been hearing lately, where it's just like I can't even describe how some of the drums I've been hearing lately.
They're live recorded. A lot of bands in our Disfigurement was program drums, and this album's all live recorded.
It really gave Jimmy a chance to like do what he really wanted to.
Yeah, and he killed it.
Yeah.
He fucking killed it. And a lot of I think, I don't want to just pull this out of my butt, but I think a lot of bands in our genre use program drums.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
know the newest Amur record did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was like one of the nailed mix things they were talking about. Yeah. Because they were talking about how like certain parts they have like triple cymbal hits and stuff like.
Oh shit.
And they're like, it's inhumanly possible, but it's just production value.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I've been hearing a lot is where they'll have drums previously recorded in real time from a previous record, but then they'll just sample all those drums on the new record, so nothing ever has to be played.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, but still you can tell like it sounds just a little bit off when you hear it.
Yeah. I have an appreciation for like the idea of like trying to be like that kind of production value to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for us, but like it is really cool that they kind of have that mindset that they're like, it's just production value. We'll add like 4 simple hits here where no one could actually do it, but
Yeah. I like the being able, like, I'd like to actually be able to play what we
for what we do. Yeah. I like to
Yeah, see that also makes a big deal too, because like you don't want to write something that you can't necessarily play live, because it's so noticeable. Like don't get me wrong, I've seen it where people don't pay attention, but I mean for like me personally, if I go to a show, I'm like always watching what the guys are doing on stage, and I've seen bands where they're like literally sitting there not hitting their guitar, and I'm hearing everything being played over the PA, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? They're playing to a backing track right now. This is garbage.
Who is this, Justin Bieber?
Yeah, Yeah, might as well be, man. So, as far as I guess like lyrical stuff on this record, did you guys let Dave kind of take control of all that and write his stuff, or like do you guys each do pieces of it?
Dave did everything.
Yeah, Dave front to back. He would come to us a lot and be and like read off like little ideas or maybe like show us like the scratch idea for like a full song, and like he'd ask like, you think this is pretty much all of it. Like every time we were like, yeah, dude, it's cool.
I think all we had to do was correct grammatical errors.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what was the song name that? There was an original song name that didn't make sense at some point. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I mean, he really killed it. Like, yeah.
That's cool, because I know, like, I feel like when a lot of bands are, maybe this is just, like, me and my opinion of it, I guess, like, you know, there's always that chance when a band's, like, transitioning, you know, you got to think, like, well, who's going to notice if the lyrics are any different? But I think that there are people out there that will notice. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I just feel like, you know, maybe sometimes a lot of people will think that people don't read lyrics because everything's like digital now, but I still think there are a small percentage of people that care about what goes into a whole record, lyrics and music wise.
Yeah, because the whole like thing, it's all we were very meticulous and like thought out upon like what songs might be about what. I know Dave asked you a couple times like what do you want this song to be about?
I guess there was one song, Modern to Dusk. Well, it's one of the songs I wrote for the album. They've asked me what I wanted the lyrics to be about, and I gave him an idea, and he went with it. That's pretty much all I had for input. I gave him an idea, and he wrote all the lyrics for it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely like a lot of cohesion with you guys working together entirely on a song, whether it's just like each person's part.
Yeah, because like usually we'll have wow, I'm just repeating myself over and over.
No, it's cool.
So we'll have like the full song, and we usually have like a Dropbox link that we're all connected to it, and so we all hear it, and we'll just sit there and be like, so there's a new song in the Dropbox, and we all go through and we listen to it for like a week. Yeah, and it's like either like, okay, that kind of like we don't want to use this part, or we'll sit there and we all come up with little ideas to go at it like bit by bit, and just slowly over the weeks, whoever can show up that weekend, we sit there and like mess with that song with whatever our ideas might be with it.
There was definitely a few songs we didn't use, and there's a few songs we changed completely.
Yeah. We've got like that whole 4 or 5 songs left over that just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Huh. Do you ever like plan to like reuse some of that stuff, or is it just like there just in case you need it for something in the future?
I mean, yeah, but there's some of the songs were good songs that we didn't use, and we definitely could use them again. That's how I think there was some songs that some riffs at least we didn't use on Disfigurement that we might have used for this album, or
it's very unofficial right now, but we've talked about just throwing out an EP of all of the unused songs from the album. Because they're good songs, or not. It's not like it's like crap or recycled. They just didn't exactly fit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think EPs are a good idea, especially nowadays. I'm noticing a lot more bands like really do that, where they'll put out a record, give it like a year, and drop an EP, and then, you know, another 6 months later, a new album is out.
It's really cool. A lot of the times, like the EP is like for a transition too, like of sound.
Yeah.
This part, and that's a really cool way to like introduce like here's what the next record might sound like.
It's a good way to test it out too.
Yeah, like beta testing your music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what Ingested just did with that EP they dropped, because I feel like they're gonna make a transition here with this next record.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even like the level above Human, like they had a lot of different sounding stuff compared to what they released before.
It's true.
A lot of sick riffs and more some kind of behemoth-y vibes on like some of the parts and stuff. I think the sound they're going for is really cool.
Snap keys.
Shout out to Ingested.
yeah, right. So the last thing I kind of want to touch on here, the album cover. How did you guys come up with that, or like who did you work with? Because that's a hell of an album cover. I fucking love it.
Adam Burke, Nightjar Illustration. I wanted to work with him for a good while. I saw that he did stuff for Fit for an Autopsy.
Did he do that end one?
Yeah, he did it for End also, and I just really like the painting, the painted style, the dark paintings and stuff. Yeah. So I sent him a Magic the Gathering card as a reference for one of the references, at least for what we wanted, and he fucking killed it.
Wasn't the whole orb thing something from Japan?
That was from Japan. And the orb and the double sided sword.
Yeah.
That was like
the temple.
Yeah, we went to a temple when we were in Japan, and there was goddamn, I gotta look it up now. There's one.
Pictures of that somewhere.
There's a statue of one of the gods or something.
It was like so while we were in Japan, we went to a temple like one of the last days, and before you get to the temple, you have to go through 2 gates, and there was like a thunder gate and there was another gate, and basically the orb and the spear thing had to do with those 2 gates, and that's the little connection.
I think it was Raijin.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's cool as shit. Yeah, I immediately, like, when I saw it, like, it's funny you mentioned Magic the Gathering, but for some reason I was thinking, like, World of Warcraft, but it's basically the same thing, you know?
Really happy with his artwork.
Oh,
yeah, it's got a great color palette, too. And then, like, because, like, when I got sent the promo stuff, there's kind of, like, a really nice high-res version of it, and you really can see the details where it looks like the painting on there. It's pretty fucking sick, like, seeing all those brush strokes and everything.
Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah, it was. When he did it on like a block of wood. Is that what it was?
I don't know.
I think that's what he sold it as.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just like a big slab of wood with the art on it. Like,
really rustic.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice. Well, guys, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I usually like to keep it around an hour, and I think that's about where we're at with it. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. And so let's see, you got the tour coming up here in like a week or so, I think.
2 weeks is the first show.
2 weeks.
September.
Okay. September 7th is the first show.
Basement Transitions.
That's for the routing dates at least.
Okay.
That's Basement Transitions in Erie with us and Visceral Discord.
Nice. Yeah, and then the record comes out October 11th, correct?
Yep.
Sick. Yeah, I'll definitely have to hold this back until like a week before, but I'm still glad that we were able to get it done beforehand, because I was definitely like, yeah, I need to get these guys on the podcast.
Oh yeah, man.
Thank you for having us.
We're stoked. We love doing this, and any opportunity we get to talk about behind the scenes.
Yeah,
it's all fun.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I like to do with it. At least, you know, when I have the chance. But sometimes, man, I've done a few where it's like bands definitely have like a script, or you know, they only want to talk about the same thing that they've talked about with 5 other people, and I'm like, damn it, that's not what I want.
No one wants to interview us, so
we got plenty to talk about.
Well, guys, thank you again. If you ever want to come on in the future, talk about video games, Magic the Gathering, whatever,
we would love to.
I'm down for it. I always like to have people back on, even if they're not doing a record or whatever.
Sure.
And maybe I'll make it out to a show. We'll see.
It'd be sick, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Hit us up, man. We'd love to do that shit.
Awesome.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!